Hi, this is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan. He's a Corgi, and we're here for an episode of Conversations with a Corgi. And you might see my guy mowing the lawn back there and throwing my dog agility course around. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about what I've been doing with one of my client dogs who has a problem with thunder, because this is a time of year when we are having thunderstorms nearly every day. And I know certainly if you live in Miami and other parts of the South, you get thunderstorms even more often than we do and for many more months. And that can be a lot of problems for dogs. So let's start with a couple of things that a lot of us are familiar with here. I have to reach, don't want to drop my Corgi. The first thing I want to talk about is panic attack flower essence. Now, this is from the Botanical Animal Company. Both my sister and I have it available on our websites. Mine is sallymorganpt.com. And I don't think you can get it unless you go through, like a vet or somebody who sells it. I'm one of the only non-vets that is selling this. So anyway, and you can look back on an old episode of Conversations with a Corgi to see what's in it. But it is a flower essence, which means it's similar to a homeopathic, and it works gently on the nervous system. It takes a few uses for this to start to have an effect. But what it does is take a lot of that emotional stress and that circular override you get when your dog is terrified of thunder and shivering under the bed. So the panic attack is the first thing. And it says to put it in the water bowl, but I don't think that's so effective. So I like to have people put it on a treat and give it to their dog. It says 4 drops. And today we're going to have thunderstorms in the afternoon. You should look on your weather radar and see when the storms are coming and give your dog the panic attack before the storm, not during the storm. But I've used it during a storm and it's still effective. It's just better if the dog is calm from the start. The next thing you're going to need, and you don't have to have this, but a lot of people know about it already, is your thunder shirt. Now, over the years, they are now making this out of a different fabric. Some of us don't think they're as good as they used to be. And a thunder shirt uses that same idea that Temple Grandin talks about in her books, about hug therapy, being in a tight, confined space so that you can feel relaxed. Part of that is knowing where your ends are. When you're a dog, your front end's here, your back end's way down here, and you need to know where your body is in space. That's called proprioception, so that you have some confidence that nothing's hurting you that you can't see. So the thunder shirt was invented after the person saw us using ace wraps to wrap our dogs. And of course, now on Facebook, some other person is wrapping dogs and making it look like a new invention. But we have been doing this with horses since like 1983 in T-Touch. And so this is not a new idea. This is Linda Tellington's old new idea. So, and it comes from our observation of people like Temple who felt good being hugged but not literally hugged. And so we started using wraps to help animals feel where their limbs are and feel where their body is and to calm them down. So how you use the wrap helps calm your dog. So this little guy I'm working with is a Cairn Terrier, and she's super afraid. She runs around the house barking. So what I suggested is for the person to use a thunder shirt and a wrap, because I've used this in the past and it's pretty effective. Tristan's pretty small. I could use this. I think this is a 3 or 4 inch wrap, and you have to use ace. If you get another type of wrap, it won't last. The stretch wears out, like if you go to the dollar store, and the amount of stretch actually really matters a lot for this to be effective. So get an ace wrap. They do not come in these pretty colors. The T-Touch people dye them this color. Although my client who has a Cairn managed to find black ones online, which is nice because it kind of blends in with the dog color. So I'm going to just put this around his chest first. He's going to have a lot of clothes on today. And then you just cross it on his back. Boy, this is covered with Cairn Terrier. Who thought they didn't shed? And then around under the tummy. I think we're going to have to put this in the washing machine. And then back to the back of your dog. And here you can either use a safety pin or a kid pin, or you can tie it in a knot. And then make sure you go back and adjust it so that all the squeeze isn't around the back end and that he's getting some on the chest. Also, if you have a male dog, make sure you adjust for any of the package down there. So Now, if I'm going to put a thunder shirt on him, I'm going to use a smaller wrap than this. But if you only do the wrap, get the widest one you can for your dog. So I'm going to take this one off because I am going to put a thunder shirt on with this. And then you get the benefit of seeing 2 times of the wrapping. Again, start on the chest. Once you know where you're starting, it's a lot easier to do this. Cross it over his back, cross it underneath, and this is going to give him a lot more room down there for his business. And a dog this size, one wrap like this is usually just the perfect size. If you have a Cocker Spaniel, this will probably be fine. But if you've got a bigger dog, you might need to get 2 wraps and tie them together and then put the tie on their chest. So Tristan's got this on. Now we're going to put on his thunder shirt. And part of the effectiveness of the thunder shirt depends on how tight you put it. And that is going to vary by your dog. Some dogs, like this one, don't like it too tight. Some dogs need it to be tighter for it to be effective. So I'm just going to put it on him so that it's what I call comfortably snug. If you're a horse person, you certainly don't want it as tight as you would put a girth on a horse, but you also don't want it so that it's rolling around your dog. So he's in a wrap and his thunder shirt. Now, why are we using both of these things? Oops. His thunder shirt's a little wrinkled. Okay, the wrap is giving him some specific points of proprioception in his body. The thunder shirt is more overall. So if you've got a really terrified dog like this one I've been working with, then you need both things. If your dog is not that scared like mine, just the wrap is fine. I mean, he just likes to sit by me. He's not shivering. He's not terrified. He just wants to stay close to his mom. I've worked with a Great Pyrenees who knocked over a TV set, knocked over a sofa, went behind bookcases with a width of that, knocked them all over the floor, and that's a big dog. So in that case, you want to do everything you can to prevent havoc in your home. So I think we used 3 wraps on her. It was kind of nice. It looked like a harness, like she was going to pull. All right, so we've got this. Now your dog might still be afraid. So we're going to use another wrap, and then the most important part of this is your T-touches. So the head wrap can be, for a dog his size, either the 2-inch or the 1-inch. And I'll just show you the difference. So this one, like you start on the chest, you start over the snoot and around and behind the ears, and then make a little bow. Now with this dog I was seeing, she was tearing around the house and I had to kind of contain her, and then she was trying to eat this. So it's going to take a little skill to be able to do this. So this is thin. If I put it tighter, it's going to put a significant amount of kind of pointed pressure on his nose. And there is a calming point between their eyes in acupuncture, partially how this works. Now, if your dog is super, super scared, that might be too much information, and you may need to use the 2-inch wrap, which is a little wider, and make sure they can still see. And this makes the information from the wrap a little more diffuse, so it's spreading more through the dog's whole head. Now, there's quite a few reasons why we're putting a wrap on the dog's head. Are you cute? He says, I'm cute. First, when the dog is in a state of fear, and this goes for humans and horses and cats and rabbits too, there's a mechanism where you tighten your jaw. And when that jaw is tight, it causes the parts of your brain that are in fear to release more fear hormones. And so you're in this vicious cycle where the more scared you are, the more you chomp, the more hormones are released, and the more scared you get. So you're in this cycle. So part of putting this wrap on the nose, and this actually might be too wide for him because his nose is so little, it's going in his eyes a little bit and it's kind of interfering with his mouth. But you need to break up that cycle, and the head wrap helps that, because what you're basically working on is taking your dog out of that sympathetic nervous system response of stress, fear, flight, run, and you're trying to get them back into that rest, digest, relax, peaceful mode of the parasympathetic nervous system. So that can be most easily mediated through the T-touches and through this wrap on the head. That is critical. So you're going to go back on Conversations with a Corgi, like episode 20, and look up your clouded and lying leopard T-touches. They are a circle and a quarter, And you're going to imagine the face of a clock as you do this. And you're going to start at the 6 and make your circle with your middle finger with the other ones following along and come back up to the 9 on that clock. So 6 around to the 9. So your thumb is also on the dog and your pinky is not extended. Your pinky is part of the paw. Your hand's a little curved. And that's pretty a basic idea. So the triple heater meridian is here at the base of the dog's ear. Again, this is one of the areas you need to get information into when your dog is in a state of terror. And this works for all kinds of things. I mean, if something just banged on the kitchen floor and your dog is terrified, you can do these same things. So I'm doing these touches around the 3 points, which go here, here, and here on the base of the ear where the ear joins the dog. And they're for respiration, digestion, and reproduction. Now it happens, interestingly, that this little girl I'm working on started all her problems after she was spayed. And she had been a breeding dog. And the spay was super complicated. There were a lot of issues. And then when the parents went down to Florida, where there's tons of storms, that winter, which is last year, the dog developed this terror of thunder. So who knows what happened during her surgery, but this point for reproduction is critical for her. So doing these little T-touches around the base of the ear is the first thing you're going to do. You can also do ear slides. I know that's kind of in your nose, Biss. You need the smaller wrap. And you can also experiment with folding the wrap, but that usually makes it too tight. I know, honey. Let me adjust that for you a little bit. So you can do these ear slides as well. Make sure you hold the ear all the way to the end. The shock point is on the tip of the ear. Very important to keep your dog calm because if they are too afraid, they actually can go into shock. So important to work that shock point. And then you can do T-touches around the jaw, in the cheeks, and the face. And holding your dog like I'm holding him now, like I just am sort of snuggling him with my front hand, and having him on your lap or you being on the floor with him is ideal when you're working with a dog who's afraid of thunder. Another important thing is to have a place in your house where the dog feels safe. A lot of dogs go behind the toilet in the bathroom. Some dogs go into a stand-up shower stall if you have one. Some dogs go under the bed. Some dogs go to their bed, which may be like under the coffee table or someplace safe like that. So try to work with your dog in his safe spot. A hallmark of your dog being terrified is when you're trying to give them treats and they won't eat them because they're too afraid. And that is also a sign that they're in that sympathetic nervous response and not the parasympathetic. So if you can give your dog some tasty little treats while you're doing this, that's going to help calm him down because the more they're chewing, the more they're releasing that jaw tension that has that circular feedback to the stress parts of the brain, and you want to interrupt that cycle in order to get your dog to think and be able to calm down. Right, Tris? I know this is too much on your nose. You need the skinny one. You've got a very short nose. There you go, honey. So those are a few tips for what to do with your dog during a thunderstorm. Any of these things can work independently of the others. Some dogs just need the panic attack flower essence. And you can also, if your dog is really afraid, like we had a dog at the T-Touch class this year in Maryland who's super afraid of thunder and lightning. And so we were actually putting a little bit of the panic attack on our fingertips and working in the dog's mouth because and the storm was long lasting and super loud in our building. So we were just going along her mouth and letting that flower essence do its work on the mucus around her mouth, the mucous membranes. If your dog has a tail, and even if he doesn't, but this is not the first thing I do on my dog because panic attack with mellow out works well. Yes, the combination is very good. It depends on your dog's personality, but I mean, these flower essences, I can't tell you how great they are. So if you have a tail, you're going to make 3 circles with the tail gently and 3 circles the other way. And when your dog is scared, see how Tristan's kind of rocking in his buns because he's not scared, he's just limp. His whole body is moving when I do this. When your dog is scared, they're not going to move when you do that. And their whole nervous system is tight. That's going to release the spinal cord and give them the ability for the information you're putting up here with your T-touches to reach the other end of the dog. So the tail work is also really important if you've got a dog that's afraid of thunder and lightning. And often they'll tuck their tail and scoot like something's coming behind them. If you've got a dog with subluxing patella, this is, back here where their knee joint, which is really in their back leg up here, if that is loose and kind of going in and out of alignment, and there's thunder, they often tuck their tail and scoot. And so the tail circles. We're doing hair circles because we don't actually have a tail. And I want to get the actual physical input with him right now. He says, I want to sit down. So that's why I'm using his fur. But if I were doing actual tail work, I would go where his virtual tail is and do it that way as well. But during a thunderstorm, you want to be hands on the dog as much as you can. If you can't touch your dog during a thunderstorm, you definitely need to get like a wand. I have a feather duster that's got like a kind of a felt ball on the end. It's not really a feather duster, but you can use that to work on your animal. If you've got a cat that's afraid of thunder, you can use even just a sock on the end of a ruler or some other long object in your house and just do these touches around your cat's face and let her rub her whiskers on it, and that will help her calm down. So that's some suggestions to do if your dog is scared of thunder. And if you have any questions, you can ask them here. And certainly look up the other posts on the T-Touches, and they're all on YouTube, and under Panic Attack, and also Mellow Out Flower Essences. Those episodes are long, like 40 minutes, but it tells you all the flowers that are in them and all the properties of all of the flowers and how they work together and what kinds of issues that your dog might be having, or your cat or your horse, that would require you to use this particular flower essence. So there's tons of information on Conversations with a Corgi. And now you have an episode about what I do for a dog who's afraid of thunder. So thanks for joining us today. We will not be here tomorrow because I am doing a T-Touch class here at my house starting at 9 in the morning. And I've got a couple of those clients are early people. So I don't think that I can even squeak this in the morning. So you'll have to wait till Sunday at 9:30ish, and I will give you a report of how it goes. We've got really interesting dogs coming and some excited people, so I'm looking forward to it. So thanks for joining us today for Conversations with a Corgi. Good luck with your dogs. I hope they are safe and happy when the thunder comes to your house. Another important thing with the thunder shirt, if you have one, put it on your dog quite a few times. I have to say this without the music being too loud. Put it on him quite a few times when he's relaxed so that he associates it with being relaxed and not with the scary thunderstorm. And also practice the T-Touches when it's not a thunderstorm, because that will be helpful as well. And you need to leave the thunder shirt on for about 20 minutes. So make sure you do that. You can leave it on longer, but don't leave it on when your dog is not being supervised. If you leave it on for less time, it seems to not work as well. So thanks for joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow. Everybody have a great day.